Hi, guys. Thanks for being here. You're the first people I'm talking to that are in the IMPOLITIC show. And I thought I'd do it this way because it's February and it's cold and um, it's hard to get people to come out. So I thought we'd bring the conversation to them. I think this is just such an important show and an important way for people to connect through the arts. And I think we could all use a little creatively inspired conversation to get us through the beginning of 2025 as we were on 2024. So thanks for doing this. Um,
Thanks
so
for having us.
yeah, I'm excited. So I know that people love visiting artist studios. I love visiting artist studios. Kevin, you're the first person to welcome me into your space when you were doing the residency at Indigo Arts. And it was just really cool for me to see how you work and see, all your work up all around you and how you had your materials and just have you sort of talk off the cuff about your process. And I think people really love that. Well, I believe that abstract art can speak to us all on a very personal level. It's also really fun to get that insight about, what the artist put into it. So I want to start with you, Kevin, and just ask you to sort of describe, because things have changed. You're in a different location. You're not in the residency anymore. You moved to New York, and you've got a whole different studio setup. Could you sort of describe your environment that you were painting in over the course of 2024? Talk about the physical environment or any influences or sort of physical surroundings that that inspired you as you made this piece that's in the show.
Yeah, so I went from painting in, beautiful, scenic, um, Portland, and then moved to the crazy concrete jungle, that is New York City. So there's definitely a lot of change that went on. I think a lot of it is subconscious change, and I mean, there's like conscious change, but um, I think a lot of things happen to you internally, at least for me, when I like transition or move places, and then I kind of have to catch up to them on a conscious level. So I think a lot of things were changing subconsciously, being in a new place, having things kind of feel like really gaining community in Portland and being able to be there for it, and then moving to New York and then just kind of feeling like it's almost like starting over as far as like community goes and all of that. Not to mention just the bustling busyness of the city, as well as just like I think my life. I'm like when I moved here, I was like 30 years old. As opposed to being in kind of my late 20s, I definitely felt a shift happening. But uh, so I'm still figuring out what that shift is. But I think in Portland, there was a lot of trying to figure stuff out. I think letting out a lot of energy, letting out a lot of excitement that I don't think I previously was able to get out efficiently. And I think that's where a lot of the bright colors come through in my past work. Where in New York, I think I'm really honing in on who I'm becoming as an individual. I think things are slowing down, becoming more still. I think initially that was scary. I think it almost I was like, oh, is this like what's going on? Is like happiness going away? It's like no, you just gotta figure out new ways to, you gotta figure out yourself. Who are you at this point in time? I just think things are slowing down. I
Yeah.
think I'm really figuring out myself. So the paintings are slowing down in a way. I think it's like colorful in certain ways, but I think the palette is definitely getting more muted, more earth tony, more. It's like It's almost like there's like an exploration, like I'm digging for something, like it's underground or something, rather than just trying to grab all the things that I see in the air. It's just like digging all the things that I've yet to see.
Be a
Um,
very literal interpretation of this piece with the hands and the piece, the digging and the earth tones.
right.
I've come up with a, living with this piece in the gallery for the last few weeks of, it's come to mean different things to me, but that's a new one. And I think it's important to mention, just in case people are watching this who aren't familiar with you, although, I mean, where have they been? But just in case not, I mean, you were a new painter in 2020? Is that when you started to paint?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, the way you describe kind of that, expressing something that it didn't have a place to go before. I have this image of like a shaken up like soda pop bottle, like this is you, and
I
then
like that.
pop the cork and off it goes. And then that happened. And now it's like, who are you now? I love what you wrote about, your piece in the program. You talked about 2024 being a year of confusion, and that you thought you could see what was ahead of you, but as the year went on, the thing in front of you got blurrier and blurrier.
Mm,
And I think the environment you just described encapsulates that really well.
thank
Let's Matt, I want to go to you, and I know you're talking to us from your home, not where you paint right now, but I've also been super lucky to be in your studio, which you share with Allison McKean, and it's such a fun, eclectic space. But I want to ask you about like the physical, the way you surround yourself with physical stuff. It seems to me like there's a lot of influences in your work, but I'm going to not project that onto you. I want you to answer that. So what are the materials around you and the influences around you? And also if you want to draw it specifically to your piece, Ahem.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not sure where to start with that. Definitely have, a lot of influence from objects, just as like forms or like the ideas that different objects can create. And yeah, that piece came from, a comic strip speech bubble, that the kind that represents confusion and frustration, like the scribbled speech bubble over someone's head. Um, yeah.
Were you influenced by comic strips, like literally?
I definitely always have been, just kind of those sorts of graphic images, a lot of like, yeah, line work and bold forms and colors.
For anyone who hasn't like visited your studio or seen, I mean, you've been in a few different articles. I think Suzette McAvoy posted something recently about her visit to your studio, but you have these like this grid of post-it notes up on your wall as well, which is kind of like a textual, I don't know if that's a word, version of a speech bubble, perhaps. Um, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm surrounded with post-it notes with reminders of things to do,
Mhm.
or thoughts, and um, do you think those influence your work at all?
Yeah, I try to always be drawing on something for a long time. When I was working full time, it was post-it notes from the office I was working in, and I haven't used them as much lately. But yeah, I like to kind of surround myself with them and then pull little bits of different ones out of them and put them into a painting.
Love that. You said when we were back and forth about how you might describe your piece in the program, you said you've always made use of the unknown in your work, but you frequently question it and struggle with it. Would you mind talking a little bit more about that? And if you want to relate it back to the year 2024, I think you were that's I drew that quote out of talking about the unknowns that we were presented with throughout the year of 2024. So how do you make use of that that struggle and those questions in your painting?
The struggle is most of the time just feeling like I should have this big thing to talk about, but when I'm leaning into this unknown, that I don't always find that. So that's the main struggle, I guess. But I guess I'm accepting more that I won't always completely understand. Yeah.
No, that's great. I see that almost again as a sort of literally conveyed with the abstraction contained within a speech bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're accepting and allowing that there's not language there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tricky for someone like me who's a very verbal person, and I so appreciate having you two on here together. I know you're good friends and you're just also very different people in terms of being verbal people. We have the opposite ends of the spectrum, and I love like you guys just come together in such a beautiful way in your friendship. I'm wondering if you have any, I mean, Kevin, you're in New York, so you haven't been able to be here personally to see it. And I don't know if Matt has shown you any photographs of his piece or, but Matt, you've been able to be here. You were here for the opening, so you've seen Kevin's piece, and I think you'd seen it before also. Do you have like thoughts about each other's work that you might want to reflect on or share?
Yeah, definitely. Matt's a king. He is, I mean, everyone's an artist. I think at the end of the day, that might be a hot take, but I truly believe that. You just gotta tap into it. And if you want to be one, you are one. And I think Matt is really good at living his life as a visual artist from the second he wakes up to the second he goes to sleep. I think he notices things in the world. Like, I think he's constantly noticing things. And I think he's constantly getting in information. And when we're chilling, he'll just, he'll point out something. He'll point out some trash on the street, because it's a cool shape and it's placed in the right place, its relationship to the space that it's in or whatever, and show me the significance of it. And I'm like, dude, only you, Matt Demers, only you. But it's like, it's real. So I feel like he's really good about, whenever he shows up to the studio, he's painting the present moment for him. And I think he does, you're definitely digging into ideas, but what I love about what I love about him as an artist is I think he just kind of he goes with the idea that's on the top of his head. And he's like, if I want to do this full, huge abstract, painting today, I'm going to start working on this. I want to do, I want to work on paper today. I'm going to do this. I want to work on paper with just pencil. I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to do all three of those in a day, and it's just like this creative impulse that he has, and he just listens to it. He doesn't question it. He just goes. I mean, he has these incredible split paintings. I know you can see on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really just admire his ability to just take in the world and then just like spit it back out, and create his interpretation of it so quickly, so flawlessly, just like every single time. Despite whatever he says about it, it's generally always pretty amazing and pretty thought-provoking. So.
Thank you for that reflection, because yeah, like Matt, you talked about the struggle, but like the way Kevin describes you, there's like such freedom. There's like unlimited capacity and freedom and like it seems like absence of judgment. And God, I love that so much. Also, the invitation for all of us to consider ourselves as artists, like whatever's going on in our head, whatever struggles we might perceive we're wrestling with, like that doesn't necessarily come through in the art. Like there's, there's this perception, Matt, of like such freedom, limitlessness.
Mhm.
Matt, do you want to give us?
He's too nice. How do I follow that? It's like
It's don't try, just be
no,
you.
I was down there last weekend, and I really love getting to hang out and talk about what we're both working on and going through. And yeah, I've been super inspired by what Kevin's done in a short time, working since 2020, like we talked about. He's already, to see what he's done in a short time is, yeah, super inspiring and exciting to see where it's going to go. And yeah, he's just motivated and excited and curious, and yeah.
Diligent and
Mhm.
relentless. Like, I mean, even like Kevin, when I visited you and you were talking about this sort of in between place that you were feeling you were in during the year of 2024, like, I mean, for some of us, feeling that in between place, stops us cold, makes us wait. And you were like, it's in there, it's in the paint, it's in there. I just got to keep painting until it feels right. It's whatever. It's sort of really just condensing our conversation to a couple lines.
Born with stubbornness. I'm really thankful for that.
It's put to excellent use, I believe. I want to ask you guys before we go, because I promised to keep these short. Um, is art important right now?
Yeah, I think it's always important, definitely. And like right now, it's important as both sort of an escape, but to also draw attention to things at the same time. If that, yeah.
Is there anything in particular that's driving you to make art in this year? Has it shifted from anything in the past, or are you pretty consistent in what your motivations are?
I don't think the motivations are very different, but just the content, the way I can see it and the way I process it is different. Um, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin, is art important right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, echo what Matt said, I guess, yeah, it's always is. And I think, especially right now, a lot of people, I mean, everybody, it seems like the world is at a very confusing, seemingly more violent, and just scarier world than we were in previously. When did that change happen? Not quite sure. I feel like there's a few points you could say, but I think it's really important to just, everyone has something that they can gravitate to, and they feel like they something that someone can look at or listen to or whatever sense you need to, stimulate that idea that, yeah, there are people out there that understand you. There are people out there that agree with you. There are people out there like you're not alone. I think art is the best thing in the world at just like giving you that comfort. So whether it's a painting, music, looking at that piece of trash on the ground, whatever it is, I think it's yeah, I think it's really important, maybe now more so than before, but it's always been important. I guess it's all just relative, though, that people have something to you know, grab a hold of in the moments that they feel the most scared, I guess, or the most confused, or the most just not quite like themselves, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the motivation for me to put this show together a year ago now was because I had the last time I felt so confused about our world and the politics of this country. I had a women's circle where we came together and we were able to sort of reflect one another and process our emotions. And it was just such a wonderful balm to be able to be in community. Um,
Mm.
and and putting this show together was asking a question: could visual art provide that same sense of community and reflection, and not feeling so isolated with our struggles? Um, and there's a range with the eight artists in this show. Some are quite overtly political in their work, and others are bringing the politics through them and sharing sort of how it filters through them as an artist. And I don't know why that should surprise me, but it did kind of, because I don't know that I knew that when it all came together and the show would come together, that it would provide me an opportunity to reflect on myself, as an artist, as a person in the world, and attend to my own care. Um, and the way you both talk about painting, is very much very personal. And I think that's one of the quotes. "The personal is political" is the feminist quote from the early 70s, I think. And that sort of was floating in the back of my mind as I put the show together too. And although it wasn't in any of the literature that we put together, I'm so pleased that the work in this show sort of represents that idea, and you both do, for sure. Um, our time is running short, so I just want to ask: is there anything you sort of wish that I had asked that I didn't get to, or anything you want to say about your piece in particular, or this show, or the year that we lived through, the year that we're embarking upon, that you want to add?
I just want to thank you, Maddie, for the opportunity and for, you know, just doing all that you do for the community and in such a short time. You know, I think I think you're really doing an amazing job of getting people together and having these like diverse groups of shows, diverse with artists and themes and all of that. So I just want to thank you for kicking ass, and I just want to say, please continue kicking ass and creating a community where, you know, because just like what we were talking about, I think a lot of people will come to Sidle House and, you know, they get that sense of belonging, sense of community, sense of I'm understood. So as your art project continues on, I think you're doing an amazing job, and just continue doing what you're doing. And thank you again. I don't have the words to express the gratitude. You know, anytime you get to show a piece of work, it's just, it's an amazing feeling, but especially when you are selected and the gallerist can give you a reason why and express to you, you know, what you mean, what your work means to them, and what it can mean to the show. And it's just, it makes me feel very seen. So thank you for being you.
Thank you so much. And I hadn't thought of that. Like, literally, your work is being seen in the gallery, but this is what I used to do in those women's groups: is hold space for people to be seen in the context of community. And that is what I'm trying to do. So thank you for seeing that. That's what's driving me. It's really
It's very obvious.
It's exciting, and I'm so grateful to have a place like this to reside while the world continues to be a very chaotic place. Uh, Thank you both. Matt, did you have anything else to add?
No, Kevin said it all. Thank you. Thank you for everything and putting this together and
Yeah.
for having us. And yeah, the work all looks so amazing together. Yeah.
Does, doesn't it? Tooting my horn here as a gallerist. Gosh, every time I put a show together, I'm so excited about like the magic that happens when it all comes together. I'll edit this out because I don't want to be plugging myself here. But thank you so much. I think I'll edit it out. We'll see. I don't know.
Nah, you don't need to. Nah, that's perfect.
Oh, it's so fun to have you together because I've known about your friendship, but I've never been in the same room with you at the same time. So it's really fun to do this. Thank you so much. Stay warm, keep painting. I know
You
you will.
too.
Nobody needs to invite you to do that. You guys are prolific and amazing, and I appreciate all you do.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Love
great
you guys.